What's up, guys? My name is SnyperSama, but you can call me Sniper. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going over another part of my God Roll RNG series, I suppose. Truth be told, I haven't been playing a whole lot of Monster Hunter. I've been waiting for Arfeld to come out in just a couple of weeks as the time of this recording. And I've been playing the new Monster Hunter Stories 3 demo, which I will actually be doing a video on sometime next week. But because of that, I still wanted to make sure that people were able to get the God Roll builds that they may want. And today's one recipient of the God Roll build is Chargeblade. Now, Chargeblade for me is really, really fun. The thing about Chargeblade is you can't really do SAED and Savage Axe with both of them being extremely effective. Okay, so Savage Axe you can do, and it'll be creme de la creme amazing. Same with SAED, especially against Gogmazios with those elemental hit zones in his right before his nuke phase. The thing about it though, when you try to put them together, you end up getting a little bit less from both sides. Instead of excelling in one area, it ends up lacking a little bit, and it gets brought up on the other end. You can't have something that's amazing at both types of weaponry. And because of that, I've already done an SAED build. I wanted to do a Savage Axe build because Savage Axe is actually my preferred way to play, especially in Monster Hunter Wilds, just because it's so much better. It really is. Like, I hate to be the person that says that SAED is not good. It's not that it's not good, is that the monsters in the game do not let you use SAED to its fullest anymore. Okay? Not only are they faster, granted we have focus mode, but you can't prevent that 24/7. It's not how it works. Focus mode will allow you to be accurate, but if the monster moves again, there's only so much you can do. But on top of that, most of the monsters have terrible hit zones. Because they have terrible hit zones, you don't get to take and do crazy amounts of damage with SAED. In fact, one SAED explosion ends up doing like what 2 swings of Savage Axe can do, which is why Savage Axe is my go-to today. Today, the first part of our God Roll is going to be on our weapon, of course. For me specifically, I voted and I tried, and I think Fulgur Anjanath's Will is better. I know that everybody's talking about the Gormagala God Rolls, and valid, but for me, Fulgur Anjanath's Will takes the cake on this one. Something about Savage Axe with the lack of movement that you get in the Axe mode really lends itself to taking full advantage of Second Wind. You can get into position a lot easier without having to lose all of your affinity bonuses from things like Maximum Might, which is a huge, huge part of this build. Okay, so part 1, Second Wind. Part 2, getting Lord Soul with it. You guys can see here, I have mine on my Paralysis Chargeblade. I would not recommend you use Paralysis. I would say Poison is better. I would say that any of the elements are better. It just so happens that this is the one that it rolled on. Truth be told, I clicked it. I thought it was a Thunder one. Oops. Anyways, that is part 2. Part 2 is the Second Wind with Lord Soul. And part 3 is going to be in the reinforcement bonuses. Reinforcement bonuses, like I always say, and like you guys commend me for in the YouTube comments, you don't need it to be absolutely perfect. The difference between Attack Boost EX or Attack Boost 3 and Affinity Boost EX is literally mathematically like 2%. It's just not worth it. And in the case of this, we are actually choosing, I am choosing Affinity over the attack. And the reason for it is the math behind the skills. Okay. Secondary, we have our Hunting Horn. You can pretty much use whatever you want here. It doesn't need to be a Hunting Horn. It can be a bow. It can be dual blades. Literally whatever you want. As far as the armor goes, we are rocking 2 piece of Udra gear. Now, the reason we're rocking Udra gear is not for bad blood. Bad blood, at least in my opinion, unless you're playing Greatsword, it's not really all that great. You don't get to take full advantage of the resentment. The reason we're doing it is actually for the skills and the decorations that come with the gear. We have 3 level 1s here, which allow us to have Divine Protection. And then on top of that, we have 2 level 3s here with Counter-Strike. Not to mention, we also have Burst. And Burst is very, very easily upkept, especially on Chargeblade in Savage Axe mode. Next up is we have Transcended Fulgur Vambrace's Beta. The reason these are transcended, and the reason they need to be transcended as RNG Part 2, or 3, you get 2 level 3 decos. 2 level 3 decoration slots is huge, and it really lends itself to kind of push this to the next level as far as a build goes. Last but not least is you have these 2 pieces of gear down here. You do not need either of them to be transcended. Mine happen to be, just because I had the stuff and I've been playing the game for a while. But Gore Coil Beta, Gore Grease Beta, both of these are super, super nice. And the last God roll or RNG specific thing you need, at least in my opinion, is a Golden Age Charm with Attack Boost 3 and 3 decoration slots, 1 weapon and 2 armor decos. Now, you do not need it to roll with antivirus, okay? The reason I am saying you don't need antivirus is because the way the Gorgries work, you already have 1 level. As long as you have a Golden Age Charm with Attack Boost 3 and 3 decoration slots, you are able to mimic the entire thing, minus the fact that you will not have 3 levels of Quick Sheath. That's it, okay? So, all RNG aside, this build is crazy. It does an absolute boatload of damage. And then on top of that, we're including the Corrupted Mantle this time. Now, the reason we're including the Corrupted Mantle is because it is going to increase our attack and our affinity. Now, you can see here, thanks to our Affinity Boost EX, we're at 0% affinity with 263 raw. The raw attack could be a little higher if we substituted that little bit of affinity that we got on the weapon. However, it's only going to increase by a maximum of 9. Meaning, we would have 200 right here, 245 plus the 9. We'd have 254 raw attack. This would go up an additional 9, 272. That sounds like a lot in the grand scheme of things. But I'm telling you that the affinity bonuses make it so much more valuable to rock that direction. As far as the decorations go, we're going to start with the armor. Armor, like I said earlier, 3 protection jewels. Divine Blessing is really, really nice. If you are at the end of the game, you are playing, you are fighting, a lot of these monsters hit hard. And Divine Blessing is a really, really easy way to make it to where you don't have to worry as much, okay? Then we have 5 Tenderizer Jewels. Now, the reason we're rocking Tenderizer Jewels is for Weakness Exploit level 5. Now, you might be asking yourself, Sniper, a lot of videos, you're talking about always wanting Agitator instead of Weakness Exploit. Here's the thing. Weakness Exploit on Savage Axe Charge Blade is very, very nice. The reason it's very, very nice is because when you swing your Savage Axe and you get the Buzzsaw effect going, whatever the first part hits, most of the time it stays about there because of the hit stop changes from Title Update 4. It's a little bit faster, but it's a lot more focal. It's a lot more local and centralized on the one part you're hitting, meaning Weakness Exploit ends up lending itself to edge out Agitator by just a little bit. And the reason for it is because you can control where you're hitting significantly easier now. Okay, so next up is we have a Mighty Jewel. We have 2 Mighty Jewels. This gives us maximum might level 3. Then we have the things that I was talking about with the RNG. If you do not have the ability on here with the decoration slots to be level 3, ideally what you want is a Golden Age Charm, Attack Boost 3 with the weapon slot. If you can get that, you can still mimic this build. You would just take out Growth and you would take out Sheath. You would put in here Sane Jewels. You would have these 2 Sane Jewels here, and this is what your stat line would look like, okay? You would still have Attack Boost 5, you still have Crit Boost, you still have Load Shells, Weakness Exploit, Burst, Maximum Might, Divine Blessing, Antivirus, Constitution, Counter Strike, and Flinch Free. But because I have gotten very, very lucky, I am able to include Quick Sheath in the mix, which is very, very nice, as well as Growth, just because sometimes these hunts take a little longer, all right? Now, as far as the weapon goes, you got 2 choices. Unfortunately, because you are playing Savage Axe with this build, you are lending yourself to using most of your Sharpness. That gives you 2 choices. Magazine and Attack Jewel is absolutely critical. Not only is this going to give you Load Shells, which is going to let your gun lance, I read that and saw that, your Charge Blade charge up faster and more efficiently, but it's also going to give you your 5th level attack boost for the plus 4% and the plus 9 raw. You can choose 2 things here. Critical Jewel and Critical Jewel to max out critical boost, essentially giving you an additional 40% on your critical hits. All in all together, though, you have 30% from Weakness Exploit, you have 30% from Maximum Might, giving us a total of 60%, include Antivirus, giving us the natural 25% after Frenzy has been cleared, giving us 85% affinity. But on a wound, it'll actually be 105%, and when we have our Corrupted Mantle on, it'll also increase another, I believe it's 15%, giving us 100% affinity flat. However, if you do not want to do that and you are worried about sharpness management, you have a couple extra choices. Option 1, Handicraft. Handicraft is really, really nice, and on Savage Axe, it really lends itself to be valuable just because you have so much more white sharpness. Alternatively, you could rock Razor Sharp. Razor Sharp is also very, very good. In fact, this is the one that I would go after. if I were to swap my critical jewel, it would be razor sharp handicraft. Now, the reason I'd be going for this is because the critical boost between level 3 and level 5, although it seems like a lot, it's only 6%. It is not a crazy amount. The difference between white sharpness and blue sharpness, though, is a good amount. I believe it's a 1.17 all the way down to like a 1.8. 1.08. It is a significant jump, and at least to me, it did not seem worth it. Whereas if we go razor sharp and handicraft, razor sharp is just going to give it 50% chance to not lose sharpness. Alternatively, there is one more option, and it's not one that I normally like using just because it lends itself to be a little more situational. You are not always going to hit all of your crits. There's a reason affinity is variable. You could go Master's Touch. Any sort of sharpness management could still be slotted in instead of that second level of critical boost. It is up to you guys and what you think is best for your builds. If you are noticing that you're having to hop on your secret or you're having to sharpen in the middle of a hunt before a monster moves into its transitional phase, I would say put one of these on and see how it goes. Personally, the Master's Touch is a great addition to this. The issue is, at least for me, Maximum Might, Weakness Exploit, all of these are active. I prefer having the little extra white sharpness and razor sharp, because razor sharp is going to mean every time I hit, there's a 50-50 whether I lose sharpness. Master's Touch is only going to work on critical hits, and I know that the math there is supposed to pretty much be that, oh yeah, Master's Touch, if you have 85% crit rate, it's going to act like that. There is still a chance in that 15% that you just always lose. It's still there, and there's still an 80% chance that it hits. So you have a 15% affinity that you're missing to not guarantee it. And then on top of that, there's a 20% chance, there's a 1 in 5 chance that you don't hit it. I would rather just rock a 50-50 and have all of the white sharpness, not only because it saves me having to do math on figuring it all out, but on top of that, it's just going to give me a little bit more, and I don't see myself running out of white sharpness often. Overall, though, this build is actually kind of crazy. I really, really have been enjoying it when I'm actually playing Monster Hunter. I've been on a huge Baldur's Gate 3 kick as of lately, and I have just been seriously enjoying it. So you can see here, we can take a look. 292, 30% affinity, 100 on my paralysis. But what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and move into charging our shield. And then we will charge up our files once more. Perfect. And into the Savage Axe Slash. You can see here, once we start kind of getting the ball rolling on damage, it just absolutely eviscerates monsters. This is kind of what I was talking about. You can see that the initial hit was over on the far side over here. But once I actually committed to the attack, it all localized into where I was aiming. You can see because of how it's hitting back there, if I move over to this corner and I aim for this, we can see this allows us to take full advantage of Weakness Exploit. You can see there, we have done 50-odd, 65-ish hits total, and we have barely gone through any of our sharpness gauge. Not to mention, you are able to take full advantage of everything. You have nearly 300 attack, 55% affinity, which is actually 85 thanks to Weakness Exploit and just being hidden. And on top of that, it's impact files. Meaning, if you sit there and do Elemental Discharge on the noggin of whatever monster you're fighting, you can sit there and work on stun values as well, because these count as elemental file attacks. And maybe you want to actually do a little bit of super amped Elemental Discharge and spam some SAEDs. Overall, this build is a lot of fun. This build does a ton of damage. I'm really enjoying it, and I think you guys will too, which is why I made this video. That is going to do it for today's build, though. Thank you all for coming and watching. Thank you all for hanging out. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe. If you guys are as interested in other games, maybe Baldur's Gate, like I am, or seeing me play Monster Hunter, or wanting to play Monster Hunter with me, or other games, I guess, make sure to check out the Twitch, make sure to check out the Discord, and make sure to check out TikTok, all of which have links in my bio. Okay? That is going to do it for today's build, guys. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for hanging out. I'll see all of you in the next one.
I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you want to play tough and want to hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.